Commission, Committee for Anti-Racism and Equity, and Metro Arts staff are joining by conference call. In a moment, we will call roll of all members present. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available to the public no later than 48 hours after the meeting. Any action items decided by consensus at today's meeting will be reconfirmed at the next in-person meeting of the committee. So I am going to call this meeting to order, and as I am taking roll, we will bring up the CARE group norms on the screen as well. For each committee member, I will ask if you are present, and please say yay. So we have Aaron.
Yay.
Ellen.
Yay.
John.
Yay.
Ms. Bounce.
Oh, would you mind if we use Sarah?
Sarah.
Yes, here.
Terry.
Yay.
Okay. I will now call for a motion that the meeting agenda constitutes essential business of this body, and meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans considering the COVID-19 outbreak, and is permitted under the governor's executive order number 78. I will need someone to propose a motion to this effect.
I propose.
I heard, who proposed first?
Terry.
And then who was second?
This is Aaron, I second.
Thank you. I will now see if there's any discussion on this. If there being none, I will go ahead and do a roll call vote. Aaron?
Yay.
Ellen?
Yay.
John? Sarah?
Sarah.
Oh, yeah, I think it's Sarah.
Okay. Yeah.
Carrie?
Yay.
Okay. The motion passes, and I will next pass the meeting to, I will get it right one day, Sarah, to facilitate our information session.
I know last time we were going to review and watch a clip from 40-year-old version. So I actually haven't prepared anything for this meeting. I wanted to make sure we had enough time for our agenda. So yeah, got nothing prepared today.
Okay, thank you. Terry?
Okay. We have, well, our agenda says we're going to approve minutes.
Oh, yes, sorry about that.
Okay.
Has everyone looked at the minutes from March of last year to February of this year? Okay, and is it okay if we approve it by a chunk, like the whole thing, or do we have to do them individually?
Yeah, so we can approve as a blanket. I know I sent the SharePoint link, and that was a lot to go over. We sort of just got approval, but if y'all feel ready to go forward with that, then yeah, we can just approve as a mass motion.
Okay, so I will need someone to make a motion to approve the minutes from our CARE committee meetings from March 4th, 2020 through February 3rd, 2021.
This is John. I move to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
This is Terry, I second.
Any discussion? And I have to do another roll call vote. Aaron?
Yay.
Ellen?
Yay.
John? Sarah? I'm sorry.
Sarah.
Sarah, thank you. Terry?
Yay.
Okay, so that passes. And then the next thing we need to do, thank you, Terry, for reminding me that there are other things on the agenda, to vote on training or onboarding for commissioners. I know there was some discussion, and about using the video that Crossroads sent, and wanted to kind of see if we wanted to go ahead and do that now. I know that John, I believe you highly recommended it, so if you want to.
Yeah, I'll speak to it. So here's the deal. I like the video a ton, and so whether it's the video or it's an actual training, however it happens, I think it needs to be standard practice. So what the tool actually is, I'm okay with the video. I love, like I said, I love the Beyond Diversity video. It's good, but it needs to be standard practice going forward from this point if we're all going to do this work together. And that means the agency, the board, the committee, and hopefully eventually the community. But we can only go with this. So yeah.
So John, that's the point to this, having it as a vote, and it's not necessarily, obviously, not an all comprehensive onboarding process that's gonna come, but we wanted to start here. So
I did want to add,
yes.
Sorry, this is Sarah. I wanted to add that John and I are part of the training subcommittee. And so that is kind of a recommendation from both of us as part of being on that subcommittee.
good.
Okay.
Cool.
So the training subcommittee recommends the video to the committee.
Yeah, the video being called Beyond Diversity. Just want to make sure that's in the minutes.
And if everyone's okay with that, I'll need a motion to approve the Beyond Diversity video as the first resource for training and onboarding commissioners, committee members, and individuals within the agency.
I move. This is Sarah.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, this is Ellen. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Can we word it though so that CARE is recommending to the commission that this be standard?
Yes, so that will be what I bring to, or what will be on the commission agenda item for April, is that, I'm sorry, for March, For March is that this is the video that we're recommending that, and we want all commissioners to use for onboarding. So our 3 new commissioners we'll start with them. Does that help, Ellen?
Should not all commissioners be encouraged to read it though?
Yes, they will all be encouraged, but we know that the 3 will be
Mandated, like,
exactly.
okay.
Now, Caroline, did you have anything to say to that, or?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if, and this may be fine, but I just wonder if we want to make it like all, commissioners, whomever, however we want to say, within the or employees too, must complete at least a half-day anti-racism training, or giving it some other qualifiers so that, should that video become unavailable or we find a better resource, or does this committee want to be that granular and we just come back to you when and if we're like, hey, this video became unavailable or we can't use that anymore or something like that. I just wonder if as a policy decision, if it's better to be a little more general about the mechanism for the training, because I know sometimes folks come to us and they're like, I've been through a 3-day anti-racism training. Is that good enough? Or do we also, we may want to just say this video so everyone has the same content, and I'm fine with that too, but just a thought.
I think.
I would like, go ahead, Sarah.
No, sorry, John. I was just gonna say, I think I do like the idea of keeping it a bit open, but I would like to qualify it with saying, have you gone through specifically a Crossroads training, or because we want to just make sure we're using the same language. So if they haven't gone through a Crossroads training, including like if they've gone through a Saturday school or if they've gone through a half day, a full day or 2.5 day, that's cool. And they don't have to watch the video. But if they haven't, there are other ones out there. Like I really would recommend that they watch the video in that case so that we have similar language. And John, yeah, I don't know what you think.
My hope is that we can all be unified in this. And so, and that's just where I am. I know that certain different other trainings have, I'm not saying that it's going to be less or a better or worse way of approaching an anti-racist lens. I'm saying that we were trained by this particular company in this way, and I can't speak for other members of this committee, but I know my understanding and my dealing with it since my first Crossroads training has broadened. I've taken on other sources. I've looked at other things. That's all great and fine. I just want to be able to establish a baseline for commissioners, agency staff, and the committee. And so I would say, Caroline, initially, I think that starting with this video is the best baseline start in lieu of having a training. But I feel like this is more easily accessible than having, as we've seen in the last year, to having 2.5-day training. So I think we can, I think we can revisit this later, but just for right now, I think that this is the way to go. And then doesn't mean we can't change it later, but just let's go with where we are now. So if they have taken an anti-racist training where it's different from, and there's several different organizations who do these, it's different from Crossroads, and we're all using this language. I want to start all on the same place. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
If it's the organization, it sounds like the organization is what we're calling the baseline, the organization being Crossroads. So if someone has or would prefer to do some of their virtual training or attend a training, would that stand in place of watching this video because it's with the same organization, or is it specifically the video that we want to kind of call that baseline?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we were saying the video because it's more easily accessible. And John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, I would be down with, like, if the institution is able to pay for, commissioners to attend the Saturday school or, their virtual sessions, then yeah, that would be great. I think I don't know if that's the case. I'm not quite sure how much their Saturday school costs and like what, Metro Arts' budget is around commissioner education and stuff. I know that the video is a little bit more, I mean, it's just less expensive. So, but yeah, I don't know. Caroline, maybe that's a question for you too. Just what is possible?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you answered my question. Like, it sounds like the video makes sense as a baseline for right now. We might want to explore broadening that, or we can look into that option. And which is what we would typically do in a typical year, is say like, hey, the Crossroads training one day we're hosting it, so we hope you'll come to this, or, the 2.5 day. But given the circumstances, I think the video makes sense in this context. So I think we could start there and then certainly drill down deeper. That's the desire of this committee, to sort of push one day or longer. I mean, I think that's certainly possible.
Thank you for that. I want to also express this: the catch as catch can. Maybe possibly I might sort of be able to, me personally, I'm trying to avoid that. I want everybody to have the same access to the same information that they have to process before entering into this work. And that's what I'm hoping to achieve in this.
And to me, the video should be the bare minimum. And then if commissioners want more training, we recommend other things with Crossroads.
Yeah, thank you, Ellen. Yeah, I think it's a starting point, so we can all just be speaking the same language, and it's like 2-ish hours. So it's not as much of a time commitment as like a Saturday school. So.
Is there any other discussion? So there's a motion made in a second, so now I'll do a roll call vote. Aaron?
Yeah.
Ellen? John?
Yay.
Sarah?
Sarah?
Sarah.
And yay.
Terry?
Yay.
All right, so moved. So I will be taking this to the commission to let them know that this is the video that has been chosen for onboarding for all new commissioners. Is there a time frame that we want the completion done? Is it within like maybe the first 6 months of becoming a commissioner, the first 3 months? What do you guys think?
How about the first month?
The first month?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were a little slow with getting this, but yeah, we can definitely, so the three, we won't penalize the three new commissioners, but going forward, we would like to do within the first month. Is that fair for everyone?
I think so.
Okay.
Are there other onboarding materials or things that happen when commissioners join that this could be incorporated into?
This is Caroline. Yes, we have, well, I mean, we do sort of a hour and a half long orientation over just like what Metro Arts does and all the programs. And there are typically some documents we share at that point, like bylaws and, you know, just any governance type things. But I wouldn't recommend all of that happening at once, just because it's a lot to absorb. And so I don't know if in the first month, could we schedule that plus their first meeting, plus another 2-hour training? It might be a lot for them to absorb as they're coming in, but certainly we can sequence that, you know, as part of the process moving forward.
Any other questions? All right, so now Terry, I get to turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we are down to item C, item A, strategic plan, RFQ discussion and questions for Caroline. So there is the document that is on the SharePoint site, but is that considered the RFQ?
No, this is Caroline. The document I believe that you have is just a summary briefing document, and then that goes through the procurement space and they turn it into the RFQ, which will be posted on the whatever, I don't know where, the website where they host all of those through iSupplier, and you know, the formal bid process is a different document.
Oh, okay. So we don't have the official RFQ document to review yet. Okay.
No, I don't, I mean, I have something I could send you, but it doesn't look, it's just a lot to, I mean, the way they have it formatted, it's much harder to read. So I can certainly send you that, or it's supposed to be live today. I have not received confirmation of that yet, but I can certainly send you guys the links. I just don't know if you can access it that way either, because of you have to be a vendor, and there's just a lot of stuff between what I wrote and what they have to put out. So I can certainly provide that. It's just a lot of tiny text and, you know, other information that has nothing to do with the scope of what we're asking for, but just more about instructions on how bidders respond and what they have to upload and all of that kind of stuff. Certainly, I can share that with you if that is the desire of the group. But it's, you know, a government-ish looking thing.
Right. Okay. And probably very wordy. So then, because I kind of think that might have been the expectation, or maybe not. Grace, do you happen to have the meeting minutes from last month in front of you?
I can certainly pull them up.
I just want to see where we were.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I'm doing that, I also, and correct me if I misunderstood, was the RFQ discussion also about the process for, I know we have a process for inviting consultants who might be interested in this work, and I know we were interested in working with CARE on that, but I didn't know if that was under this agenda item to discuss currently?
I'm not sure, so that's why I was looking for a reference to last meeting. Because last month, Caroline, you, just help me remember, did you walk us through the process? Or did we talk about it at all?
I believe we talked about it at the retreat in depth, and we may have touched on it in another meeting, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay, okay. So while Grace is fishing for those other, for last month's meeting minutes to address that question, generally, care team, care members, do we have questions or discussion we'd like to have around the RFQ or the process or the decisions or anything in particular?
I mean, I think just a general question, I guess, without looking at, of a document at this point, would just be around, will the consultant or consultants have experience in racial equity work? And like, is that, I know you had mentioned that, Caroline, I think is like wanting to have that as a criteria, but I just wanted to ask or see if that was formally part of the RFQ at this point, and like how that's kind of being judged against some of the other criteria that are included in the RFQ.
Yes, so that is something that's written into the qualification requirement. And then the way the procurement buyer has, they sort of take your qualifications and then we kind of work on like, okay, well then what's going to be submitted to judge that? And that would be sort of the resumes of the team, the experience of the team. There's lots of pieces there as far as what they have to provide. And that, equity, the lens of using equity to do this work is sort of woven throughout the text. And then like the qualifications and scoring, it's tied in there as well. And then outside of that, there's also sort of the Office of Minority Business, like the SMWDBE piece. So they also have some requirements that are governed by that group. So that might be like percentages that the work has to be contracted to certain subcontractors or minority-owned businesses or women-owned businesses. So that's in addition to what we ask for. So it's in both places.
Thank you.
Any other further questions? Okay. Grace, were you able to locate the reference in last meeting?
Yes, so it looks like we spent the majority of the time discussing the equity lens, but Caroline did give a presentation that was actually quite similar to the presentation given to new board members, which mostly focused on the structure of Metro Arts. But I don't believe that we got deeply into the RFQ process. It was more sort of regarding the current practices of Metro Arts.
Okay, thank you.
Did have that conversation during the retreat when Caroline kind of broke out and did the step-by-step piece. I think the summary that is in the SharePoint, and obviously I haven't seen it, but the summary is kind of outlines what is expected of the consultants, if I'm right. Is that right, Caroline?
I believe so. Yeah, the summary it sort of talks about what the scope is going to be and what the process might include. I believe that's the document. And then I don't know if you received the longer document, but we did talk about it in the retreat. I remember that. So yes, so that I'm not sure if it doesn't go into like qualifications and scoring and all that stuff. I've been working with the procurement buyer on since we last talked about this.
Okay, thank you, Caroline. So, care members, any other questions or discussion with what we know so far? Okay.
When is the deadline for individuals to submit?
I think they leave it open, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks. I don't have that right in front of me, but it opens, well, it's supposed to open today. I have not confirmed that with the buyer. And then there's like a pre-bid meeting, which would likely be in the next 2 weeks. And then it would close probably a couple weeks after that, but I can get you those dates. And we can also ask to leave it open longer. It's sort of, they tend to turn those things around pretty quickly, but we can, extend that window. And then what I think Grace mentioned, what I do with the staff and sort of just did a lot of research with various partners and folks in the field nationally was, look at consultants who might be good for this. And then we invited them into the system so that they would get notice of it and then they could apply. And certainly we can still add folks to that list if you, have someone in mind.
Thank you.
Caroline, is there an official timeline of the expected process and the timeline and the milestones?
There's a general one. I think the goal is to get a consultant team on contract. I hope we can do that in the next, 3 to 4 months or so, but sometimes that process takes a really long time. And then, sort of sit down with that consultant and have their, use their expertise to say like, okay, here's how we should do this. I mean, I have an idea of it just based on what we did for the public art plan a couple of years ago, but I feel like that's going to be part of the discovery. I mean, I hope we can do it within a year, but, it might take longer just depending on, what data we feel like we have, what conversations do we need to have? Do we, stakeholder conversations, focus groups, interviews. I mean, that process could take quite some time, and given COVID and everything else, it could, who knows how, what that might look like. So I don't have a concrete timeline, and I don't really want to put one to it until we have a consultant on board and they can, kind of tell us like we need to spend 3 to 6 months on this part, and then 3 to 6 months on sort of the drafting, and then there can be a process of reviewing and finalizing the plan. So I would say not less than a year from now, for sure.
Okay, thank you. So, CARE members, what seems reasonable to us? Do we want to table this until we have at least a consultant selected, or have the official RFQ produced and live and accessible, whether we can get into it or not, but or something else?
This is Sarah. I'd like to wait until we can actually see the RFQ.
Okay, anyone else? Is that okay? Do we have a consensus around that suggestion?
Yeah, this is Aaron. I agree with it.
Okay. Ellen, John?
This is John. Same. I'd like to see the document first.
Ellen?
Yeah, it'd be nice to see the document first.
Okay, I agree. So let's make that our decision to table until we have something we can look at. Okay. All right. Thank you, Caroline and Grace. Paula, you're up.
Yes, so I was super excited to present the first CARE report to the commission last month. And the agenda items the items that I discussed with them at our retreat. We showed the equity lens questions from the Maryland Association of the Boards of Education. And I let them know that those questions were being revised to support Metro Arts. And before we would bring them to the commission, the staff and the committee will assess, and we're going to vet those questions to make sure that they fit, and that we were looking at Thrive grants, well, the Thrive program was kind of where we were initially thinking, and I know staff is going to update us on that this evening. I also told them that we would be coming back with some type of comprehensive equity training, which obviously we voted on that this evening, so I'm able to bring that to the commission. And then I praised the staff and also the committee's work on everything that we've been through and just kind of getting us to the point that we're able to have reports, bring things to the commission for votes, and just that we've been hard at this, but it's taken a while, but I think we're getting there finally. And then the other thing that I've kind of teed off was the idea of what our next major item may be. And one of the things that I did discuss was the organizational assessment and a communications plan. And so that we're having, that we're kind of working through all of that, but we're just, we're taking our time, but that is something that we probably will bring to the commission at some point. But I didn't get into real specific details. I just, we're a small group of 10. We've got a lot of working groups. We're doing a lot of work on top of, our real, not our real jobs, but on top of our professional jobs. And so it was just important that they recognize that this volunteer group is lean, but we are making strides. So that was my first report. So thank you all.
Cool, thank you. Comments?
That's excellent. Thank you very much.
Paula, what was their response? Or were there any?
Good job. Wow. Thank you. Okay. Interested. Just kind of the whole Zoom. It's weird to read the room on Zoom, So it's not like in person where I can be like, oh, I didn't like that look or whatever. So it was just one of those things. But I think overall, it was good. I mean, Grace, Caroline, you guys were there. Did you? I think everybody was pleasant. I won't say even pleasantly surprised. I think they were grateful for the work that we're doing.
Seconded.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And next we have talk about, the care retreat. When we had our first one, as we were planning that, we suggested that we have a care retreat on a fairly regular basis. And a good place to start is to consider that is on a quarterly basis, which means we would have one coming up in April. And in talking to Paula recently, I suggested that, because I haven't seen the Beyond Diversity webinar, I suggested that could be part of, because we talked about that in our last working group session, that would be part of that retreat, is to view that together and then have discussion around that. So this item is to, first of all, are we in agreement that we should have another one in this next quarter? Is it okay to have it in April, which would make it April 30th? And I'll stop there.
I unfortunately would not be available for April 30th, but I'm also comfortable making a commitment to watch the video and be up to date.
Or it doesn't have to be the 30th. That's just, the last one was on the last day of January.
Hey, Jonathan Marks is on, but he can't be unmuted for some reason. I don't know if someone can unmute him.
Yes, I can take care of that right now.
It looks like April 30th is a Friday. Were we thinking that we were going to do that on a weekday?
Oh, I'm sorry. We got the date wrong then. So what's the previous Saturday?
The 24th. Or Monday, or Saturday, May 1st.
Okay. Grace, would either one of those fit your schedule better?
I was going to say, quite selfishly, the 24th would work best for me, as I will also be out on the 1st of May.
Okay. So can we rally around the 24th then?
Ellen, we have two programs up in the air that day, depending on whether we can be in person, but one is Earth Day, which we're in charge of the family stage for 3 hours. And then we have a guest artist from Brazil and one from Cuba supposedly coming in. But of course, if nothing's in person, I'm free all day. But Earth Day's in the morning. It's usually like, our part is usually 10 to 1 or 11 to 2, something like that.
Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be in April either. I mean, the quarter is April, May, June. So is there, what other dates, what other Saturdays are possible?
The 24th is good for everyone. Just go ahead and schedule it. And because really, I mean, right now travel from Brazil is banned. So that program probably won't happen.
I wouldn't be available on the 24th. I have New Leaders Council that day, so there's no way.
May 1st is open for me.
But Grace, you're not available on May 1, is that right?
Yes, but I'm happy to.
Maybe we push it a little bit later into May. Maybe it's May 8th or 15th.
I would be open to that. Jean, how does that work with budget season and grant season for you?
I mean, if it's on the weekend, it's fine. So that's fine. Yeah. I mean, it's a busy time, but Saturday will be open. And then, are we getting into we have to meet in person now because the order is only till April 28th? Is that a consideration?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is. As a brief update, the virtual meetings order has been extended until April 28th. Thank you, Janine, for that reminder. If it is helpful, I can also send out a poll so that everybody has time to look at their calendars, look at the ebb and flow of their work schedules, and sometimes it may be free on a Saturday, but it doesn't work with the other 6 days of the week. So
I think that's
I can make a note to do that.
In the IT world, there's no such thing as a doodle poll. So I forget that that's even possible. You're not allowed to think about it. Okay, well, I think that'll give us more time to figure out a good schedule for everyone. So thank you. Are there any additional topics we would like to bring up at this time? Okay, good deal. So we're down to staff updates. Take it away, staff.
Well, certainly if y'all have any specific questions or discussions about the care report we sent, we are more than happy to answer those in this time. I did want to highlight in the report, there was a specific ask. So we've kind of discussed on and off with y'all, the group for white arts administrators. The name is in flux. It is evolving with this group. But in our last meeting, I believe last week, one of the things that we discussed as a group was that as a white group focused on unlearning and learning as a specifically necessary practice for white leaders, that it was also necessary as part of that to have an accountability structure, and that we needed to put in some time and effort into seeking that out. So it was suggested by our facilitator, Amy Smith, a good way to do that might be to share sort of anonymous notes about the contents of the meeting, and then have an accountability partner or group review those for feedback or suggestions or concerns. So I would love your feedback on that. And the other part of the ask is if a working group or a sector of this committee would like to take on that role or has suggestions for a body that might fit well in that. We discussed a couple of options, but I know from our perspective, you know, we work with y'all, we trust and respect y'all. So you're kind of our first thought when it came to that, but certainly would want it to be something you were interested in, or, you know, even if advising us in setting up that sort of accountability structure in a thoughtful way would be appreciated. You also don't have to respond now. I just wanted to extra highlight that for discussion, perhaps in working groups or in an ensuing committee meeting.
So I guess just so what is the specific kind of action that you're looking for here? Just to somebody to review a document or to be part of a conversation, or?
I think it probably needs nuance. Where we are currently is that the meeting would take place, a document would be produced that kind of covered what was and how was things, how were things discussed. That would be reviewed by the accountability body. And I think we could go a number of ways. It could be written feedback. It could be, you know, a discussion set up either with me, Caroline, and Jill, or someone else from the group. I think we could definitely work with the transference of knowledge, and then that would be brought back to the group to sort of help in the learning process, but also knowing that it's, you know, it's not in isolation, it's not hidden, it's not a secret, it's just a group centered on white specific learning and earned learning, which I think is a part of living in a better anti-racist world. Did that answer your question, Jonathan, or did I go on a bit of a tangent?
So you're looking for some support though in kind of coming up with that, correct?
Yes, and potentially if CARE or a part of CARE wanted to step into that accountability role as well. So it's like a part A and a part B.
Got it. Well, I mean, I think maybe providing a little bit more, maybe it'd be worth following up with just kind of like a proposal for what you're looking for. And then we, you know, maybe just sending a follow-up email, and then we could kind of see based on availability and what you're asking for and availability, then we'd be able to kind of figure out what that looks like. And also, is this a thing where essentially, because we're talking about a group of specifically for white arts administrators, do you want to just kind of engage just the white folks on CARE to sort of be part of that process? I mean, I guess I'm still not fully clear.
Well, I think the practice is having people of color as the accountability partner, so it's not
got it. Okay, got it.
Isolation. So I mean, certainly we all want advice and help in sort of shaping that. Idea is, you know, who is this accountability partner and how do we not
got it. Okay,
additional burdens, but also
okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Caroline.
Right, because I think that helps understanding who you're calling in for support here, right? Thank you.
Okay.
I guess I do have another staff update if
Yes.
We're done talking about that. The Kasi Gardner Senior Park Call to Artists will be opening on Monday, March 8th, I believe. So Kasi Gardner Park is just across from Woodcuts Gallery and One Drop Ink Studio on Jefferson Street, very near Fisk University. So it's a small pocket park that Parks did, and it opened last fall. Obviously, it's been hard to program the space during the pandemic, and the opening was very low key and virtual. But there's a 70-foot long wall. It varies in height, but it's basically serves as a sound barrier in the back of the park to kind of keep out the sounds from the interstate. So obviously, there's a lot of significance in the location and in the park and the history that has happened along Jefferson Street and what that means for the greater community. So very excited about this project, and we'll be looking for artists to do the first installation. So I will send this to you all on Monday, and it'll have more information about how to apply, links to apply, and who's eligible. So if you have any artists in mind that are working in the community that you think might be interested, just keep a heads up for that. And feel free to reach out to me with any questions about the project also. So yeah, I'm excited to be working on that. So thank you all.
Excellent.
I would also like to take this moment just to commend Trey on all the work he's done on this project. It's been wonderful to see everything that he's done and really learn from him during this process. So, yay, Trey.
Thank you. It's been a slow, long process, and we've done a lot of teetering and tottering, but I'm excited to get moving. So thank you.
I have a question. There's a historical marker there, right? At the park?
I do not believe so. I have not seen a historical marker at the park itself.
Okay. Is there one at the?
There's a sign.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Is there, because the Kasi Gardner Seniors Funeral Home is across the street from the park, right?
Yes.
Or what used to be?
I think it used to be. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
I think now it's operated by One Drop Ink Studio, and there's I forget the name of the organization. It's a Muslim organization, community organization. But I'm not exactly sure. I do know that they still own and operate, I guess, Hills of Calvary, if I'm correct, cemetery, which is in Bordeaux area off Ashland City Highway.
Okay.
So I know that's still in the family. And Kasi Gardner III, I've been talking with him quite a bit. He's on the panel for this project and has shared some information with me in terms of historical documents that I will include in kind of an appendix that will be in the call. So people interested can at least read up and get, the general facts about Kasi Gardner's family. And there is also a plaque at the park currently that has been installed that just kind of has an overview of all the history. It's hard to capture it all on a wall, on a small plaque, but it does touch on, some of the early developments in terms of businesses and the culture in terms of nightlife and music, as well as HBCUs. And it even ends up kind of touching on North Art Collective's legacy in the community. So it's very poignant, but it does cover kind of a lot of things. And I can actually share that text with you as well, if anyone's interested.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you. You may not, I'm sure it's very impactful for you, but for those of us who are from here and have some memory of what that represents, it means an awful lot. So thank you.
Oh no, I will say my family, my grandfather and my mother are both Fiskites. My dad went to TSU, so I'm a member of Clark Memorial, even though I don't go enough. So it is a very important project for me too. So I'm very honored to work on it, and I'm learning stuff about myself even through working on it. So really exciting.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Go
I have a
ahead.
question about something on the staff report. I see that the Metro Arts has gone through some conflict resolution training. And I was just wondering about if we could get a little bit of context around that, like what what prompted it, what were the goals, how is it, how did it go, how was it received by staff, like what, just some context around that.
This is Caroline. I can speak to how it came about, and the staff can talk about it. We're in it right now. So this came from, I want to say August, September. We did an employee engagement survey to sort of just see how folks are doing. And one of the things that came out of that was feedback. I don't know if it was only conflict resolution. I'm having a hard time memory-wise. It's a long time ago. But so we just sort of, had a desire for additional training, like team building. One of the things that came up was specifically sort of conflict management, also facilitating groups, like some of the work Trey's been doing, like with the Cossey Gardner advisory panel, and just sort of some hard skills around if you have a group and you're trying to move them toward a goal and sort of a resolution, how do you do that? So that was something the staff had asked for, and I worked on getting bids from local trainers and consultants and went through that process. And then we identified a consultant to do the training, and it was 3 half-day sessions. So we've done 2 of them, and we're moving into the 3rd one next week. So it's covered a lot actually, but we did sort of a Strengthsfinder assessment for all new staff. Several other staff had already done that, so we can kind of see a spread of like everyone's strengths. And we talked a little bit about that. And then we went into conflict sort of styles, like how you approach conflict, and some specific tools around just how do you manage a conflict and what is a conflict. And then the last one will kind of complete that circuit, and then also do a little bit of the facilitation piece. So yeah, that's where we are right now. And other staff might have feedback on how they thought it went.
It's totally fine if nobody else has any thoughts. Thank you for giving some context about that.
Yeah, I think I will be honest. I think it was a lot of information. I think I'm still processing through a lot of it. But I think one of the things is I think one of my takeaways is like, we have the 3 half-days, but it's sort of so dense that I think it's learning that we can continue as a staff to sort of expand out, if that makes sense. So that's kind of exciting. And I think one of the things you had mentioned, Caroline, was that it was also really nice to be together and not a task-oriented space, and actually even work on just relationship building in a way where it wasn't like, oh, we have to meet this deadline or get this project or figure out this thing. I feel like we haven't, it's hard to be together like that in this environment. So that was really a wonderful part of it. But Janine or Trey, also feel free to just jump in.
Yeah, I appreciated there was a portion of it that we looked at our conflict resolution styles, and I've said this a couple times. I wasn't convinced that I was even like properly able to kind of evaluate myself in that exercise, which is interesting. But you realize that kind of your style changes depending on the situation, and so I think it's been very helpful to consider that just in general with everyone, and kind of knowing that we all have different styles of conflict resolution, and depending on the situation, someone might be more engaged or someone might tend to kind of back off. And so I think it's been helpful to create that thinking. But yeah, I'll just share that as one of the best parts for me.
Yeah, I mean, still processing a lot of it for sure, and eager to complete the last session on the 8th. And I think where my mind was, you know, it's hard not to think of this training as separate from like just all the other trainings we've done. So I think moving forward, I'd love to just think of all our staff trainings like as a suite of things and how they can build a scaffold. And so, yeah, I think I would just, where my mind is just like, how can this tool of conflict resolution that we were given last week, like how does it complement and supplement other work we're doing in like the larger goal of like, you know, these are our learning outcomes for all of staff and, you know, not just within this training, but like, you know, after we take, you know, the trainings that we've all been, you know, offered, you know, these are the hopes of like, why this training, you know, like, how does it support like agency goals and just thinking of that.
Great, thank you all.
I hate to butt in, but I am going to have to run to class. That's why I'm on campus, so that I can make my 6:15 class. So I'm going to head out probably in the next 2 minutes. Just wanted to say thank you all. And I know Terry's going to, and the staff are going to close us out this evening. So you guys, I will see you at our next meeting.
Thank you, Paula. Have a good class.
Thanks, Paula.
Terry, I think you're on mute.
Well, how about that? Sorry. Caroline, I have a question. At the end of this DEI conflict resolution training that you're, you know, sessions that you're holding, will there be a report that is compiled by the company or the consultant to give back to you for review?
In what way to sort of assess?
Summarize, yeah, just a summary of what happened or what was experienced, or you know, I don't know. I'm just asking, will they be compiling a report to turn back in? Is it a deliverable for this?
That was not a deliverable I asked for.
Okay.
So, I mean, something we could look into, but no, it wasn't something. I mean, they are providing materials, you know, some of the assessments and some things like that, but I can look into that, but it wasn't something I asked for in the beginning.
Okay, well, if you just, you know, I just wondered, because sometimes that's part of what you contract is to get their assessment and summary of how things went, some next steps that they think you might, you know, an advisory kind of, so I was just curious. So
I mean, we did set it up so that there is so what I asked for was the training time, so the 3 half days, and then some additional coaching hours and advising hours. So I think that would be that space where we kind of assess like, okay, you know, how did that go? Where do we feel like there are additional gaps? Are there individual staff members who want to have, you know, some one-on-one time or additional coaching? And that's also part of the proposal and the bid process.
Okay. And was this for all of the Metro Arts staff or Metro Arts and HR or who?
This was just Metro Arts staff, something we did on our own. I mean, there are some other trainings. I mean, we kind of have a whole suite of things that came out of that employee engagement survey that we want to do and are kind of working through the list. And we sort of saw that the training was a big piece of what people are asking for. So we went with this first. But we're also looking at, like, Metro HR offers a whole lot of other trainings that are, you know, include some of these same topics. So we wanted to try some of those because they're, you know, easy to access, and the cost is obviously not there. So I think it's something we can report back to you on. I mean, I don't know if this group reported on that particular body of work we did with the survey and just sort of some organization we did after that, sort of looking at what we want to do next. But I think that is something, like Janine mentioned, we realized we would love to have, kind of like the recommendation you're making to the commission, a suite of training for every new staff member. So if you are, if you're coming on board at Metro Arts, you do the 2.5 day, anti-racism training. You might also do some restorative practice training, because that is coming into our work more and more. I think there were like 4 things, 4 thematic spaces that we thought, these trainings are definitely critical to any work you're going to do as a Metro Arts employee, and then, build upon that. So I think it's something we don't currently have as sort of a curriculum or, an ongoing professional development. It's not formalized. So I think it's certainly something we'd love to work more on.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right, anything else on
And Terry, happy to, so next time, happy to, once we complete that third DEI conflict resolution training in April, staff could definitely update, on our complete observation of the training at that point.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that would be awesome. And the employee survey, did you all report on the results of that? In our meetings, has that been reported?
Not in this meeting, and not in CARE meetings, no.
Okay, it was, Caroline, would that be something appropriate to request?
I think so. I mean, we have, what we did was we had our folks on staff who do sort of the data analysis and research, took the results and turned that into a summary of areas to focus on, because I think, it's hard. It's a small staff, so it's hard to sort of take that data and sort of step back from it. So we do have some summary documents, and I think I'll look back at it. I don't think there's any sort of identifying information, but certainly the thematic pieces that came out of that I think would be appropriate to share. And one of the things, I think a big piece was the diversity, equity, and inclusion sort of space, is like just some understanding, even on our own staff, we all don't have the same understanding of the terminology we're using. And certainly we've asked folks to go through the Crossroads training, but I think there's just some more work we could do on our own staff in that space. So that was certainly one of the areas that we want to do more there.
Okay, great, thank you. That would be really nice to see the aggregation of information from that. Okay, doke. Equity lens update.
I'll take this one, I think. Trey, Grace, and I, met briefly to discuss like next steps after the working group. And so we do have, it seemed like there was a lot of agreement around applying it to Thrive and just sort of working through that. So, I mean, we're still working through the process of what that would be, but I think in our initial conversations, we're thinking that, we'll take the language as is, and as we have our discussions, like Marissa and I have our discussions about how to update Thrive, our focuses, and all that. I'm sorry about the noise in the background. We will notate also, like, this came up as like, this is an unclear part, like we couldn't directly apply this. So we're just going to give you our feedback on how it was to apply it. And then, once we do have to update our Thrive document annually and then present it to the commission. We'll present it first to the Grants and Funding Committee. They'll work on it. Again, we'll use the recommendations of the equity lens, work with them as they talk through it, and then have this body, and then can just present back to CARE about, use this was our process. This is just like, as a user experience, how it went. And then this is the product that came out of that from the Grants and Funding Committee. and then present back to chair. That's where I'm thinking right now, if that works as a process for everybody.
There's no thumbs up in WebEx. We need
But just, yeah, just, and happy to take feedback now, or if something comes up later about process or anything, just let me know.
I, for one, am very excited about it, Janine. I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, that's very good. Very good. Okay, so old business. Working groups report out. The last working group meeting we had, because of the number of people we had that attended, we started out talking about the equity lens questions and kind of just stayed there. We had some sidebar conversations happening. So my question, since the equity lens reporting was actually for the staff to do, of the working groups, are there items we would like to share or discuss other than the equity lens, or in addition to the equity lens, actually? Okay. Well, I think, did we set a record for getting through our meeting? So that brings us to the end. We will need to recognize the next meeting date, which is what? This is March.
I believe that'll be April 7th.
You are correct. April 7th. Any discussion, any further conversation we'd like to have around any particular topic, any subject, before we close?
Can I say one thing? I think I'm just processing this, but I would just ask that if we are going to do a retreat and the staff are moving into grant panels, it's just a really hard time right now. So if there is a retreat, maybe balancing that with a meeting, not being the same week or the same 2 weeks, I want to speak up for the staff, and I know they're being very kind and saying they can go to all the meetings, but I just want to make sure we're not getting burnout over here, because it's a lot. So I don't know what those dates are going to work out to be, but if we could maybe just balance, if there is a retreat, maybe the meeting is different or something. I don't know. I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, no, that's fair, and thank you, because you all are doing an extraordinary job, and we appreciate your support. So we definitely want to make sure that you've got room to breathe. So thank you.
Yeah, and if we have if we're doing a poll, maybe it's worth kind of noting which dates would be virtual, which dates, as we understand them, would be in person, and then let's also go and just block out dates that are not tenable because of those types of conflicts, so that way we're really dialing in on what we believe to be the most viable options based on the considerations we have available.
Yep, well said. Okay, if there is no other discussion, Grace, is there anything more official other than calling the end that needs to happen?
No, you are open to dismiss us.
Okay, thank you everyone for your time and for your spirit and for your community. It is very appreciated, and I'm very happy that we are beginning to really dig in and gel. That's feels wonderful, and I hope it does for you too. So have a wonderful rest of your week, and we are adjourned.
You too. Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you,
Well,
everyone.
everyone.
Yeah.